In a small temple nestled between rolling hills and lush forests, there lived an old monk and a young monk. Their days were calm and followed the basic routines of monastic life. One morning, the old monk called the young monk to his side. "Our rice supply is running low," he said, his voice calm yet firm. "Please go to the market and buy more." The young monk bowed respectfully and set out for the market. The path to the market usually involved crossing a small wooden bridge over a river. However, as he approached the bridge that day, he found it in disrepair. The wooden planks were rotten, and the bridge looked dangerously unstable. Concerned, the young monk returned to the temple much sooner than expected. "Master, the bridge has rotted and is impassable," he reported to the old monk. The old monk raised his eyebrows. "Is there no other way to reach the market?" "The only other route is a long detour through the hills," the young monk replied. "I heard from villagers that the bridge will be repaired soon. Maybe we should wait for it to be fixed." The old monk fell silent for a moment, contemplating the situation. "Very well," he finally said. "We will wait for the bridge to be repaired." Days passed, and the monks continued with their daily rituals, but the young monk couldn't shake off a sense of unease. The rice container in the temple grew emptier each day, a silent reminder of the decision to wait. As the anticipated time for the bridge repair came and went, the rice supply dwindled down to a mere handful. The old monk looked at the nearly empty container and let out a sigh, a rare expression of concern on his serene face. "Go quickly now, or we will have nothing to eat," the old monk urged the young monk. Packing his bag, the young monk hurried off once again. But to his dismay, upon reaching the bridge, he found that it had been destroyed by a sudden flash flood. Even the longer detour was now underwater. Returning to the temple, the young monk's heart was heavy with worry. "Master, the bridge was repaired but then destroyed again by a flood. Even the detour is underwater. We might go hungry," he said with a sense of urgency. The old monk sighed deeply. "This situation was destined from the beginning," he said slowly. "If you had taken the longer route initially, despite the effort, we would have had rice by now. But you chose the easier option, hoping for a quick fix, and now we face this predicament." The next morning, after a night of little sleep, the young monk met with the old monk in the temple's modest dining hall. The first rays of dawn filtered through the windows, casting a soft light on the nearly empty rice container. "Master," the young monk began hesitantly, "I have considered the situation. The bridge is still under repair, and the detour through the hills is long and arduous. Perhaps it is wiser to wait for the bridge to be fixed. The villagers said it won't take much longer." The old monk listened, his face a mask of calm. He glanced at the rice container and then back at the young monk. "Patience is indeed a virtue," he said slowly, "but it must be balanced with action. Are you certain this is the best course?" The young monk nodded, though his confidence wavered slightly under the old monk's gaze. "Yes, master. It seems the most practical choice. The effort saved by waiting now may benefit us later." The old monk gave a small nod, accepting the young monk's decision. "Then we shall wait as you suggest. Let us hope the bridge is repaired swiftly." Days passed in the temple, marked by the usual routines of prayer, meditation, and chores. But an undercurrent of unease ran through their days, a silent acknowledgement of the dwindling rice supply. Each morning, the young monk would gaze out towards the bridge, hoping to see signs of repair. But the bridge remained untouched, a lingering symbol of their waiting and the young monk's choice. Meanwhile, the rice container grew emptier, each scoop a reminder of the decision to rely on hope rather than action. The young monk began to question his choice, wondering if his desire to avoid the longer path was indeed wisdom or merely a reluctance to face hardship. As the last grains of rice were used, the young monk felt a growing sense of responsibility for their predicament. He had chosen the easier path, and now they were on the brink of hunger. As the days turned into a week, the atmosphere in the temple grew more somber. One morning, as the young monk served the last of the rice, the old monk finally broke the silence that had enveloped them. "Choices are like stones thrown into a pond," he said softly. "They create ripples that reach far and wide. Our current situation is the ripple of your choice." The young monk nodded solemnly, feeling the weight of his decision. "I thought I was being wise, master. I hoped to save us effort, but instead..." I have brought us to the brink of hunger." The old monk placed a comforting hand on the young monk's shoulder. "It is a lesson, not a failure. You chose the path of least resistance, hoping for ease. But often the longer, more challenging path holds greater rewards. Effort and perseverance are virtues too." As they finished their meager meal, the young monk felt a resolve forming within him. He had learned a hard lesson about foresight and the consequences of seeking convenience over effort. He knew he couldn't undo his decision, but he could learn from it and make a different choice in the future. At dawn, the young monk decided to take the longer route to the market. It would be tougher and less certain, but he knew he had to do it. Early in the morning, the young monk set off on the longer path to the market. His bag was light, but his determination was heavy. He knew this journey would be tougher than the usual route, but he was ready to face the challenge. The path through the hills was steep and winding. As he walked, the young monk thought about the old monk and the empty rice container back at the temple. This thought pushed him forward, even as his legs started to tire. The sun was high in the sky by the time he reached the market. He went straight to the rice cellar and bought as much rice as he could carry. The weight of the rice was a good feeling. It meant he hadn't failed this time. The walk back was hard. His feet ached, and the bag of rice felt heavier with every step. But he kept thinking about the old monk's words. Effort and perseverance are important. This kept him going. When he finally saw the temple in the distance, he felt a mix of relief and pride. He had taken the harder path, but it had been worth it. He had rice for the temple, and he had learned a valuable lesson. The old monk was waiting for him. "You chose to take action this time," he said, looking at the bag of rice. "Yes, master," the young monk replied, tired but happy. "The longer path was hard, but it was the right thing to do. I've learned that the easy way isn't always the best way." Together they filled the empty rice container. The young monk felt a deep sense of satisfaction. He had not only brought back the rice, but had also grown from the experience. Back at the temple, with their rice supply replenished, the young monk had time to reflect on the events of the past few days. One quiet evening, as he sat with the old monk under the fading light, he spoke up. "Master, I see now that my choice to wait was a mistake. I was avoiding the harder path, hoping for an easier solution." The old monk nodded gently. "It is not just about the choice you made, but why you made it. You hoped the easier path would suffice, but often, life requires us to take the more challenging route to truly achieve what we need." The young monk listened intently, absorbing the lesson. "I thought I was being practical, but I see now that I was just avoiding the effort. I have learned that sometimes what seems like the longer path may actually be the most rewarding." The old monk smiled, a glint of wisdom in his eyes. "Exactly. The longer path taught you resilience, responsibility, and the satisfaction of fulfilling a duty through hard work. These are valuable lessons." That night, as the young monk lay in his simple bed, he thought about the choices he would make in the future. One morning, after meditation, the young monk approached the old monk with a new sense of purpose in his step. "Master, I have been thinking about our situation with the rice and the bridge. I believe I need to challenge myself more, to not shy away from the difficult paths ahead." The old monk looked at him, noting the change in his demeanor. "It seems you have grown from this experience," he observed. "What do you have in mind?" "I want to take on more responsibilities in the temple," the young monk replied. "I want to face more challenges to prepare myself for whatever path I might need to take in the future." The old monk nodded approvingly. "A wise decision. Facing challenges head-on will strengthen your spirit and build your resilience. You will learn much from this." Over the next few weeks, the young monk took on tasks he had previously avoided, each more challenging than the last. He worked in the temple gardens under the hot sun, repaired old sections of the temple that required care and attention, and engaged more actively in the temple's community outreach programs. Each task was demanding, but with each challenge he felt stronger, more capable. The satisfaction of completing each task was a reward in itself. He was no longer the monk who looked for the easiest way. He was becoming someone who embraced effort and perseverance. One evening, as he sat exhausted but fulfilled after a long day of work, the old monk joined him. "You have done well," said the old monk. You have not only helped the temple, but have also nurtured your own growth." The young monk smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment. "I have learned that the longer, harder path often leads to greater fulfillment. I am grateful for this lesson, Master.